for God. It's really amazing. And she's the only
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, participants, dear participants, our respected speaker. Uh, Okay, so can we just wait for a few minutes for our participants to join? Okay, let's wait for another maybe 2 minutes or so for the participants to join.
Ma'am, I think you are on mute.
Uh, okay, am I audible? Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, so I welcome all the participants yet again to another session. So this session is going to be from 4:30 to uh, 5:45, followed by another session. So I request all the participants to be with us throughout the meeting. So today we have with us Mr. Aditya Sood, and it is my honor and privilege to introduce Aditya Sood, who is an accomplished technology and data professional with extensive experience and in digital transformation, payments and AI-driven financial solutions. He is also an alumnus of SRM IST. He completed his BTech in electronics and instrumentation engineering, and he currently serves as a director customer solutions at DataStruct New York, where he leads the data and AI partnerships and oversees solution delivery for top tier global insurances and banking clients. Previously, he has also worked as a customer success manager at Temist Data, New York, NYC, managing data solutions for major banks and insurance companies worldwide. He has successfully handled partnership with 100 plus global data vendors, including Visa, Moody's, and even MasterCard. So before moving into the data ecosystem, he was the lead solution architect at Standard Chartered Bank, spearheading the major transformation programs in payments and KYC. He has also played a key role in designing and implementing the UPI payment platform for millions of SYSCB customers and also replicated his success in Hong Kong, collaborating closely with the regulators across Singapore, India, and Hong Kong. So, with a strong foundation in engineering and global career across India, Singapore, Hong Kong, and the US, he brings rich expertise at the intersection of fintech, data, and innovation. So, we are honored to have you with us, Mr. Aditya. Please join us in warmly welcoming Mr. Aditya. Sir, the platform is yours.
Yeah. Thank you for the warm introduction, first of all. And it's great to be back. I mean, to be associated with the SRM again. I did my BTech from the same college. So, yeah, I think it's a privilege to be speaking in this forum among all the esteemed guests and the participants as well. So, today's topic, I think I would start with leveraging data and AI and how it could be aligned to the Viksit Bharat and NEP goals. And I have a presentation. I'll just share that with the audience out here. Just let me know if you are able to see the screen.
Yes, it's visible. We can see.
All right. Just give me a minute. Yeah. All right. So I'll start with a brief introduction and my journey into this data and AI. So as ma'am already told, I did my BTech in electronics and instrumentation from SRM itself, post which I started with Standard Chartered. And in Standard Chartered, there was the point of time where I got my specific introduction to the world of data. I was working mainly into the financial systems, designing solutions for the banking, SKYC and the KYC flows, which is your know your customer, various flows related to flow into the bank. And there I played a major role in designing the UPI payment ecosystem within the Standard Chartered Bank. So this was the 2017 and the 2018 era when India was moving to the digital space, and especially in the form of data, where you would be using the external and as well as the internal data to leverage the solutions within the bank. And slowly, then I moved to DMS Data, which is also a data-driven platform tying up with top-tier insurance clients and the banking frameworks, which would provide solutions, solve the problems for these particular clients into the world of underwriting, fraud, and risk. And currently, I'm working with DataStruct, where I'm leading the AI innovation solutions. And as you all would know, like the recent talks all about are all about the AI. You name it in any part of the world, AI is being like talked about, whether it will be the basic households or in the international MNCs. AI is like the talk of the world right now. So this is not something new which recently popped up in a year or two. It has been into decades. It's just that it was being used by mega multinational institutions at first, but now it's making its particular impact and entering into the households of common people. And that's why we are hearing a lot about the AI and data, but it has been already embedded in all the ecosystem. It's just that now it's being implemented into the ecosystem. So that was a brief introduction about me. And next, let's just briefly touch about the national education policy and its 5 pillars. So, as you would know, in 2020, the National Education Policy was launched. And the main aim of this policy was to bring the major reform within the last 40 years into the education sector. And it is going to impact over 250 to 300 million students across all of the India. So if you see the key pillars, there are 5 key pillars within this particular policy. And starting with access, that is the education access for all. So in India, as we know, like education for some time have been kind of a luxury. I wouldn't say that it's only in the urban areas, but if you go to the rural areas, right, almost 60 to 70% of the population does not have access to basic schooling, and that's where I think the gaps are. And this policy significantly focuses on access education for all, irrespective of their cultural or the socioeconomic backgrounds. So that is the first. Then the equity, which is inclusive learning. So India being a diverse and secular state, you know, like there are students from different kind of backgrounds, but especially in the rural areas. So I'll just take an example of Bihar and Haryana, right? Only a couple of decades back, you would see that these particular states did not even allow females to like work or study into the schools. But all these social economic norms are being changed or broken now and for the good. And that's where the equity comes into place, where we need to be more inclusive. We need to take all the sections of the society into account if we need to reach those particular education goals and also the Viksit Bharat goals. And then the third one, which personally I think is the most important, is the quality. So the quality of education for some time in India has been more focused on the scoring systems and not on the actual outcomes of those particular education reforms which have been implemented. So the quality is the pretty important, and it needs to be now evolved into such a metrics where the education which you get in these schools or colleges, how is it being implemented into the real world scenarios rather than just being limited to your particular scores. So it reframes the learning outcomes as can students actually apply this particular knowledge in real life scenarios. And we have also seen that particular shift into the companies. So even the companies you see, like top tier companies like Tesla and even Microsoft and Google, they are shifting their focus from numeric or metric based driven advantages in the learning to more focused on whether a person can apply that particular knowledge in real world scenarios. So there was a recent article as well where Tesla had accepted applications for students even if they don't have like the basic minimum 60 to 40 percentage in their college degrees, or even in cases where they might not have the college or basic schooling degrees but can prove their mettle in terms of application of that particular knowledge. And then the fourth one is like affordability, which we already know, like education of lately in many aspects of institutions and also at a school level has been pretty expensive. Not everyone from all the economic backgrounds have easy access to these particular education policies. So that's where I think government has also recently sanctioned a 500 crore policy for AI Center of Excellence, which would be more focused on bringing such technologies which can reach these rural areas as well and can provide education in an affordable way and even on an offline way which is accessible to all. So basically in rural areas you would see that the internet access might not be present, but these particular AI reforms would bring offline methods of these AI implementation schedules which can benefit that particular section of the society. And even big companies like Google or Microsoft, you would see has heavily. Yeah. So even companies like Google recently granted a 75,000 crore fund to ensure that each and every school within India don't have to pay for their AI tools. So this we have seen in tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Perplexity, which because India has an advantage of population, are giving these tools for free and also like empower the section of the society so that we can reap benefits in the longer run. And the last one is the accountability. So accountability basically in terms of NEP means that there should be measurable outcomes rather than just the vague theories or policies. So I'll just take an example. During my school days, right? If a particular student wasn't able to cope up with the studies or was weak at studies, we would just give generic comments like, okay, that particular student is a lazy or is not able to like cope up with the studies and he is poor in studies. So these generic statements are not actually based on data, but more based on the human assessment of that particular student. So that's something which I think is uh, I would say is a negative way of like judging or measuring the education capability of a particular student. Rather now the focus is more data driven. So I would just say like if we are taking into account the data, there would be more particular metrics which are around that particular student. So we can say like a student scored a 45% in XYZ particular subject, and these are his weak areas. And then we can curate a proper learning plan based on his weaknesses to get a improved learning plan for that particular student, right? So it's more data driven. The shift is like more data driven rather than the human judgment of those particular policies. So that's on the accountability part. And just moving to the next slide, how this NEP 2020 policies are tied to the English language vision. So English, as we know, is almost a basic necessity in any kind of a, employment or education sector globally. And the first policy, I would say, for the NEP 2022, it focuses on multilingualism, but it's not anti-English. So it takes into account English as a major language, but also focuses on developing the native language within a particular section or a region of the society. So it's not anti-English per se, but it takes into account your multilingualistic linguism approach within a country for development. And then we have seen a particular focus on a skill-based or activity-based English learning rather than the normal theoretical learning. So you would, as a human nature, you would learn more based on the activity or visual guides rather than just having the theoretical based learning, which we are particularly used to. And then the third one is like almost 90% of your AI models are trained in English. So their English would play a crucial role if we want to go towards the digital uh, kind of a India where AI and data are the main focus. So all these global AI systems are 90% developed on English, although they are bringing into the support of your regional languages as well. But as of now, at least for the 5 to 10 year span, I would say English would be the driving force out there. And then the last focus, I think, on the teacher upskilling is also pretty important. And there are major companies like IBM as well, which are introducing some of the platforms like Skill Build or Handbook, which are particularly focused for teachers to upskill themselves so that they can better communicate and better integrate these particular AI and data policies into the education reform systems. Next, we'll briefly talk about Viksit Bharat. So, Viksit Bharat 2047 is a vision created by India to be a developed country, a 30 trillion economy by the GDP within like almost next 2 decades. Currently, we stand out at a 3.7 trillion economy. So, it's almost like 10 times the growth in terms of GDP within like almost 20 to 22 years. And the shift here is more from a theoretical based learning to AI and data guided digital reforms into the terms of education, and also emphasis on the global benchmarking of the languages and digital completeness. So, if India want to become a digital or a global leader by 2047, the digitalization and adoption to the latest technology is pretty important. And the foundation of this all is the particular education policies which start from your school to your particular colleges and then turns into the employment sector. So the foundations of education lies within empowering the youth for this particular vision. And similarly, the key pillars for Viksit Bharat 2047, we already talked about like there is a shift from theoretical to more skill-based learning where you are not only guided by the numbers, but how you apply those particular skills into the real life. And also the technical data-driven technical education reforms, which is the Education Policy 4.0. So we have seen the adoption of AI or the digital platforms more and more into the last 5 years, and that needs to be continued until 2047, where it brings an easy access to all sections of the society into the education sector as well. And then similarly, the digital infrastructure and literacy for all. So this is pretty important, the digital infrastructure. And there is also a national education architecture which has been released by the government. We'll briefly talk about that as well. But by digital infrastructure, what it means is like all your particular resources can be uploaded in a digital library where it can be easily accessed by open source by everyone across the country. And also you can exchange your particular ideas, your thesis or your particular report and research in an easy way rather than having to wait or conduct multiple workshops or I would say multiple steps, which might create a hindrance. So it's more like a centralized data center open to all, be it be teachers, be it be private or uh, public institutions. And this data can be easily exchanged between all these particular institutes. So that's the basic digital architecture as well, which India is focusing on. And then the research and innovation ecosystems that we are already seeing. And then the last one is like the teacher training and empowerment within the digital skills. So even the big companies, I talked about Google, Microsoft, or IBM, they are focusing on these particular resources and even on the public and private levels. I think the teachers are being more encouraged to use these particular digital tools. So it's not something which would be replacing the teachers, but would be guiding the teachers to like better accomplish all these things. And now, how these English connects to the NEP and Viksit Bharat, we already talked about it briefly. But if you see the goals of NEP and Viksit Bharat, these closely tie together within each other, which means that the reforms would come within the education policies and empowerment of the youth. So, to get that, improving the English proficiency is very important. It promotes multilingualism, but English being a major foundation ground for that. and also the access to the global knowledge source, which includes the global resources within the data and the AI form, and then strengthening the teacher training in English, which we already talked about. And then similarly, the Viksit Bharat goals are also on the similar lines where we can create a globally employable workforce in the citizens, which means that the employment criteria for the students or the employment criteria for the citizens of India, they need to have those particular foundational strengths, which can be used on the global grounds, which can be used on the global companies and the resources. And that should be the very basic of your particular education system as well. We already talked about the convergence of NEP and Viksit Bharat, how both of these frameworks focus on your particular skill development, inclusivity, and equity for all. And then coming to the next topic, which is why the data and AI workflows matter right now. So it's not something which is particularly new or just can be released within the 1 or 2 years of the launch. Data and AI always have been a particular pillars which has been used by particular institutions. It's just that in the recent years, we have been using it more and more, and we have been seeing it on the common household grounds. That's why we have been talking about it more. And why is it important? Because everything you see is based on data and AI right now. Even your particular solutioning for the banking, which we talked about, right? Those are guided by these particular data and AI based solutions, and how it can be implemented in those education policies. That's what something I think we can talk about. So, how data and AI can be integrated in the learning parts. While creating the learning paths, we can create personalized learning within the students. So let's say we are designing a courses which might be very specific to one section of the society. With the help of AI and data, we can target these particular courses to reduce the dropouts and also like target a particular inclusive section of the society. So just to take an example, right, we might have a class which is a mix of different regional backgrounds and which might have multiple kind of culturally different students. How AI can be leveraged to design particular solutions for those particular sections is you would have targeted outputs from the AI because it will remove the human bias from it. And a similar experiment was conducted in US of recently, where AI tutors were used to design these personalized learning courses, and it obviously reduced the dropout of the students by 20% in that. Also, the AI and data can help you to give a real-time assessment. It can help you to set the targets and also like give the data-based analytic approach to reduce the struggling students. So let's say there are a set of sections of students within the class who might be struggling in one particular subject. With AI, you can easily identify and automate those particular feedback loops to target those particular students and help to create the learning courses which are only targeted for those particular students to improve on certain sections of that particular subjects. Then coming to the bridging the rural and urban education gap. So we do see there is a big gap between the rural and urban cities of India. Whereas in the rural areas, we see you don't have access to particular school or basic communities in most of the rural parts. So there was a survey recently conducted in the states of Haryana and Bihar, where the rural education system is as such that you have only one school within the district of like 4 cities for within a particular district, and that particular rural population don't even have basic access to these particular facilities of education. So how you can bridge that particular gap is by creating AI systems which are offline and can be accessed offline, and also launching the internet pilots within that. So there is a company, a recent startup called Physics Wala, which extensively worked into this, and they have created a particular assessment system which would be creating a particular role for that particular education policy, I would say. So this startup, what they have done is they have created a tablet which is priced at 12,000 rupees, and that particular tablet would have all your offline AI dictionaries from class grade 1 to 12, and that would provide access to the rural particular communities for that particular education system. Then similarly, going to the next one, the digital transformation reform, the architecture which I briefly discussed just before this. So the National Digital Education Architecture, it aims at creating a centralized digital education hub where all your data, all your libraries would be stored in a centralized data lake. That means that all your particular resources for all the education related to class 1 to class 12 would be stored in a centralized library. And this library would be easily open sourced, which can be accessed by your public institutions as well as your private institutions. And within this, you have policies which are Diksha platform, PM e-Vidya scheme, and also the National Digital Library. And what that would help is like it is a unifying policy, but not a uniform policy. So uniform policy would only target a certain section of society. It's not like being imposed on particular students or particular institutes, but it brings all the different kind of socio-economic institutions uniformly to access that particular policy. And also the centralized data approach being an open access means that anyone from any part of India can easily access that particular digital library without having to go back and forth through the resources. Now, briefly talking about the Indian revolution or the numbers around the AI. So, in the last 2 years alone, almost 65% of the Indian population is using AI, which is almost 2 times higher than the global averages. The ChatGPT users, if we talk about, almost India has the 13.5% of ChatGPT users, which is ahead of the US. And a major source of credit, I think, would go to Google for this one and the OpenAI team as well for this, because they have provided all these tools in India for free. Given the population volumes, they are heavily investing in these tools. And that's why I think it's really important to empower those particular youth because of the population edge which we have on the global level. Similarly, for teachers, almost 70% of the teachers are using these AI tools, which is also more than the global average. And this is also, we have seen like a fastest growing sector within the education area for that particular India. Now, coming to the education AI initiative, we briefly discussed on this. Government already has sanctioned 500 crores to build a AI centralized excellence center. And we have also seen CBSE as of last year introducing AI as a particular core subject for grades 9 to 12. Similarly, the ICSE board is also planning to bring AI and robotics as a course starting from next year. So this is not something I think which was only being talked about in theories in books, but we are seeing all these real-time policies being implemented in the real-time scenario, in the real-time world. And that I think shows the shift from your particular traditional methods to the digital world towards the adoption of AI within all sections of the society. And also briefly touching base on this, now in today's world, you would see that AI is not something which is only limited to the tech savvy personals. You can see people having an access to a smartphone can use AI, be it be your particular tools like ChatGPT or be it be the tools like creating an images using AI. So, in some form or the other, I think all the age, irrespective of your age, particular gender, or the socioeconomic backgrounds, everyone is using these AI tools and adopting these particular AI tools. So, that population edge which India has, I think, is really important. Now, coming to how English is an important aspect of bringing the digital transformation within the data and AI world. So English literacy is like especially important because 90% of these AI tools are created on the English language. These are being trained using the English language. So it becomes essential that within India, if we need to grow, at least the fundamentals of English are being taught at a school level, which grows into the advanced levels as we grow throughout the college or other degrees, but the fundamental still remains on the English language. Then 62% of the educators currently are using AI for lesson plannings as well, which are also based on English. Although the companies like Google and Microsoft, these are bringing the recent changes to adopt your particular native languages, but English still act as the basic core foundation of all these models. So that's why I think English is very necessary. And just briefly touching all on multilingual AI models, recently Microsoft and Google launched support for your native languages. Google created a native AI model which would be launched in India called Bhashini. And similarly, Microsoft also launched a model which would be like launching in India called Indic. Both of these models are focused on the AI native models in languages like Hindi, languages like Bengali, languages like Tamil. Although we are seeing the shift to the native languages, but English still remains the backbone of it because all the development of these tools, all the conditioning of these tools are primarily done in English. So that's why I think it's really important uh, English to be a foundation of these particular education system to make the best out of all these AI models and the tools. Now coming to some of the real-time AI applications in the real-time scenarios. So the first one we'll start with is the speech recognition. So recently you would have seen it's pretty easy to translate the text from one language to other. Even in your particular Zoom calls, there are planning to like launch those particular features where you can talk in real time and translate the languages as well. So all this is built on the LLM and the natural learning processing languages, which are using AI and a combination of data. So all these models are trained based on your particular data collected from almost millions and millions of real-time users, and then being incorporated into AI models to improve the accuracy of these particular outputs of that particular models, right? So just for the speech recognition, I'll quickly give you an example of a recent model which has been created by OpenAI. So just a second. Just let me know if you are still able to see the screen.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So this is the Whisper, which is a new OpenAI model. And this is based on your speech to text conversions and also vice versa. And this was extensively trained using all the data based on the linguistics of different languages. Almost 100 plus languages were incorporated on designing this particular model. So I'll just give you a demo. I'm not quite sure if Zoom would also transcript the voice here, but let's just take an example of the accent. So you just have this particular text, which is given as an output for this particular transcript module. Just let me know if you are able to see hear it as well.
We are not able to hear.
Uh, Probably, I think it might be some Zoom setting. Let me quickly check.
Maybe sound also you have to include.
Yeah, I think there is a option for optimize for video sharing, which should include this sound. Let me give it a try again.
And as you can see today, there's no sunshine.
Is it working now?
Yes, yes.
It's a typical Scot.
Okay, let me just again try it from the start. Okay, so maybe let's take a first example of speed talking. So this kind of technology is used in your particular ads where you would have a particular person talking in a very fast manner. Uh, Usually, I think an example to take is the mutual funds disclaimers, which you get at the end of the ad. So I'll just play this.
This is the Micro Machine Man presenting the most midget miniature motorcade of micro machines. Each one has dramatic details, terrific trim, precision paint jobs, plus incredible micro machine pocket playsets. There's a police station, fire station, restaurant, service station, and more. Perfect pocket portables to take any place. And there are many miniature playsets to play with, and each one comes with its own special edition micro machine vehicle and fun, fantastic features that miraculously move. Raise the boat lift at the airport marina, man the gun turret at the army base, clean your car at the car wash, raise the toll bridge. And these playsets fit together to form a micro machine world. Micro machine pocket playsets, so tremendously tiny, so perfectly precise, so dazzlingly detailed, you'll want to pocket them all. Micro machines and micro machine pocket playsets sold separately from Galoob. The smaller they are, the better they are.
So as you just saw, all this was created like with just a single prompt where you have given a text and it created it into a particular voice which could be used across multiple purposes in real time. And you can just choose like if you are creating a speed talking, it's like just creating it into a commercialized way. And if I just put you an accent, so if we were to talk across the borders, let's say on a global scale, one thing could be you know the language you are talking in English, but your accent is a barrier, right? You might not be able to understand the accent of a different country. So this technology, I'll just
One of the
play.
most famous landmarks on the borders. It's three hills. And the myth is that Merlin, the magician, split one hill into three and left the two hills at the back of us, which you can see. The weather's never good. They always say in the borders, if the mist's on the Eildons, we never get the good weather. And as you can see today, there's no sunshine. It's a typical Scottish borders day. Fantastic.
So it's just a Scottish accent which is being converted based on a text. And this kind of a technology is also being used in video calls right now, where let's say we are having a Zoom call and we want to have an accent which is different to our original accent, but we want to preserve the way we talk, preserve our particular original voice. But in real time, the accent would change. So these kind of technologies are also being currently employed in call centers where you might have a call center team located in a different country altogether, but serving the clients of a different country. And in real time, it will preserve your voice, but at the same time, it will change your particular accent. So basically, I think all these things are built on particular AI models, and all the trainings of these particular models are taken from different geographies. But English still remains almost like 80 to 85% of the coding and developing of these particular models. Next one is like intelligent tutoring or assessment and feedback. So this is more focused on your particular education system, how it could be implemented in school or colleges. And basically, I think right now we only use some generic tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity AI, Gemini, and we only know about a bunch of tools. But in the world of AI and data, I think there are millions and millions of tools. Some of them are very specific to some of the education sectors or let's say the healthcare sectors. And one such tool, I think I'll just give a demo, which is the EdCafe AI, which is free to use and especially very handy in terms of if you want to use in the educational institutes. So I was just playing around with this tool yesterday as well, but I'll give you some examples which could be really helpful and could be incorporated in your day-to-day use as well, and also demonstrate like how AI tools are being integrated in different sections. So I'll just click on create new. And here you have like different kind of categories. You can create a slide deck. You can create teaching resources or lesson plans. So just for the example, I'll create a lesson plan out here. And I'll just give very brief set of instructions, what I want to create and how I want to create. So topic, I might take a topic, let's say NEP 2020 and Viksit Bharat 2047. And I'll just give instructions. It is focused on students of age 18 to 20 who come from different cultural backgrounds. And I'll just click on generate. So as you can see, like traditionally, if we had to create such a plan, it would take almost a day of ours to like research and then create a plan. But just as a starting point, if we are giving this particular input to an AI which has resources all over the web, it's taking all the resources, all the data across the web, and then curating a plan which is very specific to the topic which you have given, to the age group which you have given, to the audience which you are targeting. So it will take all that particular data into account and then give you a particular output. So here you can see it's the extensive plan which it's given with the objectives, with the vocabularies, the essential questions, and the lesson procedure as well. How many hours it should be, what should be your opening hook, the instructions, the guided practices, and as such. And if you see, it has given you the homework activities as well, which you can use. You can use the reflections as well. And this was just a basic prompt which I gave. The prompt which you define, if it is a more contextual based, you give more data driven input to an AI model, it will better curate towards your needs. So that was just one of the examples. One more example I think I'll show of chatbot, which is like really helpful. So chatbot is something which could be used, I think, in schools or colleges for self-serving. So there might be a large section of students. Let's see one. I'll just take one problem right now, right? So you would have exams and you would have different semesters. And me as a student, I might not have all the resources which would have been provided by my teachers. It might be all over the place. Some resources might be shared on emails, some might be on WhatsApp, some might even be on Google Drive, and some might all be the class notes which we have. So at the time of the exam, I might not be able to get the syllabus and all the resources which I might have. I might have to go to 10 different places to collect that particular data. But with the help of all these AI and the data tools, it has like made those particular activities very streamlined. So just a chatbot example we can take. So I want to create a chatbot which might have all the resources and all the data in one place, and the student can in real time interact to that particular chatbot rather than contacting their friends or their teachers or going to multiple channels. So I'll just give what is the purpose of my chatbot. So I'll just give a one-liner. It needs to provide the resources and syllabus for semester to all students in a university. So I've just given a single one line of a prompt, and I have just clicked on like create a chatbot. In the background, it will create a particular objective of a chatbot, like what a chatbot should be doing, guided steps, what it should ask the students, and then set of instructions to like download, and then also like the greeting messages, the look and feel of the chatbot. So I just use the defined template which the particular AI model is giving me, but I can also like edit this particular template to customize to my own needs. So I'll just use the default template and I'll just give a name to it called semester bot. All right, so it has created a chatbot. Here you can see the capabilities. It can accept a file upload from a student and even a voice message from the student. And languages I can change. Right now it's English because most of the models are primarily using English, but in future I think we can expect a lot new models as well. And let's just test it out. So it's asking me for a name. And I just gave my name. It's greeting me a particular message. Okay, welcome. He's here to help me. And it is asking me three questions: whether I want to have a syllabus, whether I want to access the learning resources, or I just want to ask a quick question about my courses. So I'll just quickly click on option first. Okay, so it's asking the follow-up question, right? For the context. So which faculty, which department or course? I'll just give English course and semester 2. So here you can see it has given me a reply within seconds saying that, okay, this is the semester 2 and English as a course. And within English, the credit is this much. These are the particular topics covered in the semester 2. And these are the ones which I need to prepare. And similarly, if I say, can you share me the resources? It will in real time share me the resources as well. So you can see it is taking the output from the default online resources. But if we were to use it in a school or let's say a college capacity, we can define what all resources go as an input this to this particular chatbot, and the students would have access to it easily. So if you see, it's giving me the English literature, advanced grammar, and then a few links which I can online refer to and lecture and the notes. Because I have not uploaded those particular PDFs or the resources into the bot, it's giving me a generic output. But if I would have given all that data during the creation of the bot, all that would be incorporated in this particular bot and someone can easily interact to it. So this particular thing, I think, which would have taken months of effort within a particular education system or an institution to implement, can be now implemented in like less than 5 minutes. And it can be used year over years by multiple students to have access to your particular semester resources or the syllabus into a one integrated place. So that's like, I think, why data and AI is like really necessary. And it would be the basic norm in the upcoming years where we are moving from a more traditional to a more digital based learning. And if you see, like in less than 5 minutes, I have this up and running where the students can in real time use this particular bot, eliminating the need of going to and forth between the teachers, students, and multiple gaps which we have within the particular process in it. And similarly, I think there is another tool called PDF AI, which I think is also quite helpful. I'm not going to upload a real one, but let me just quickly check if I can demo it as well. Okay, yeah, try a demo. So let's say we have a resources within the college, which might be PDFs of some of the topics. And let's say in this PDF, we have like almost 9 pages, right? And I can't go through the whole PDF and I only want some information on a particular section. So what I need to do is I can easily upload this particular PDF into my AI tool. And then in real time, I can interact with the particular PDF and get details out of those PDFs within that limited resource. So it's not something which the AI would be giving me out of the resource. It will only give me the data which is present within that PDF. So it's not hallucinating. It's not giving me some wrong information over the internet. It's giving me the data which is already present within the defined scope of work. So if I want to just summarize this PDF for me, I think there might be a error in the tool. Let me try another prompt. Okay, yeah. So if I want to check like, okay, the intro section, I think we are seeing it here. But if I just want to check one of the sections, and it might be a PDF which is 50 pages long, and I only want a single section out of it, it will easily give me the section and all the citations from that particular section without me scrolling through like hundreds of pages. And I can easily learn via that section. And in real time, I can also like interact to that particular PDF. So this is just one of the tools out of like hundreds of tools which are present, which can be used in real time. It's just that we don't have the knowledge or we don't have the enough research of which tools to be used and also the context behind those. So if we use the right context, right prompt engineering and the right tool in the right way, I think it would make the life easier and also like it would enhance the implementation of these tools in like the education institute as well. So just going ahead from the tools. So the critical gap, I think, which we already talked about is like almost 11% of the Indians right now are proficient in English, those who can like easily speak in English. And there are almost 7,000 languages worldwide, but all these AI tools and all these AI models which are being created are even in less than 100 languages. Although that native support or the regional support for the languages is increasing, but still, I think there is only a handful of languages which support all these particular models. And similarly, the AI models which are trained are 90% are on English, and also the Indian code mixing, which is like the regional to the English language mixing, is currently unsupported by all these AI models. So there is an opportunity, right? So one opportunity comes from teaching English across all the institutions, be it be like the school level or the college levels, which will pave a gateway to the AI literacy and also focus on the digital transformation India movement and all the goals of Viksit Bharat and NEP 2020. And similarly, the students who are learning English would have access to the 30 trillion knowledge economy, because if we want to reach to that particular number, the globalization or the global exposure is highly important. And all these models, as we checked, is based on English. So English would be the fundamental language which would be used in the upcoming future. And then the second part of opportunity lies in the regional languages or the regional adaptation of these particular AI models. So as we talked about Microsoft and Google, they are building the English language based models, and they are heavily investing in the Indian markets because of the population edge as well. So we as an economy, we have a youth, unlike Japan or South Korea, where the most of the population is the aging population. So at least for the next 4 to 5 decades, the Indian youth would be the one who would be leading, and the empowerment of this particular youth, I think, is very important if we want to gain that particular digital edge into the worldwide forums. Then I will basically touch base on the technicalities of AI. I won't go into a lot of technical details, but just basic, what I would say, the fundamentals of AI and how the prompt engineering works into it. So for prompt engineering, I would say it's the new literacy in terms of AI. It itself is a subject. And basically what it means is how you give instructions to an AI model. So we have ChatGPT for an example, right? I can give ChatGPT a very generic statement saying that write me an email, and it would give me an email in a generic way without having any context. But for the same thing, I can give a little bit of a context as to what uh, kind of a format I want the email in. Who am I writing the email to? Or is it a informal email for a friend or a formal email for a education sector or maybe a formal email for a corporate sector? So prompt engineering basically defines how you are giving all these instructions to an AI so that it can curate the output, which is very specific to your particular needs rather than generating a generic output or maybe hallucinating and giving you wrong information. So there are mainly four type of prompt engineering inputs which we can give. Zero shot is something which is a very direct task without any particular examples or without giving any context. So for example, let's say translate this sentence, and you can give a particular sentence to be translated from English to a different language. Then the second one comes as a few shot, where you use some kind of example to give a context to AI and then ask it to perform an activity based on those particular examples. The third one is like a chain of thought where you ask AI to go and show reasoning by step by step. So, for example, if AI gives you a particular information about some kind of a research paper and you wanted some of the data related to that particular topic, you can ask AI to show the reasoning step by step, saying that, okay, give me the citations or give me the sources where you have taken the data from and how you created this particular output report. What was your methodology before in implementing that. And this is especially also being adopted in banks where the AI models are used for detecting fraud. So for example, if I am applying for a credit card, right, there would be n amount of checks which would be done on my particular profile, but the bank can't totally rely on AI unless or until it gives a reason for acceptance or a rejection of an application. So it will give you a particular set of chain of thoughts saying that, okay, this application was rejected because let's say the according to the PAN card input which is provided, this XYZ person did not actually uh, file his income tax in the last 3 years. Or maybe it could be maybe the credit score is below the threshold. So it will give you a result, but with the result, it will give you a rationale, which is very important to, I would say, remove any kind of a bias or remove any kind of a discrimination on the output result. And then the last one is like the structured output, where you define a format if you need it in a bullet points, or let's say you need it in a PDF or you need it in a Word document, you specify the format in which you want that particular data. So why the prompt engineering is important? Because as you know, like there were a lot of skepticism as well when the AI was introduced, whether it will give the real data. And in the initial stages, and even now, we actually see it often giving wrong information or maybe information from not verified resources. So that's where prompt engineering come into picture. You limit the output which you want to get based on the resources which you want to use, and you ask for the justification and rationale why that output is given. So that's how I think it would improve the outputs and also like also like reduce the bias and all those discrimination which is being currently seen into these particular models. And similarly, the context engineering. So prompt engineering is mostly based on how you present the data to an AI. Context engineering is more of a context which you give to AI. So for example, if I say I want to write a book and I give just a prompt to an AI saying that, okay, write me a book on a XYZ topic, but I don't give a context. And if I want to give a context, for example, a new prompt, I would say that, okay, write me a book, but it should be in a style of a famous author XYZ, and it should have like 10 or 20 pages. And the particular volumes or particular topics should be created in such a way that it should be readable for the age group of 15 to 18 age group of the students or the persons which are going to read that particular book. So if I give a context, it will curate that particular output within those contextual lines which we have. And similarly, if you see information layers, which I already told about, like the user profile, the domain, and the historical context. And similarly, the precision in English. So that's like how precise we define all these contexts and the prompt engineering into the English language would help us to like get better outcome, because all these models are almost 80 to 90% trained in English. So the better the English input, the better the output would be. And also the relevance filtering, which we told about, if you are defining all these boundaries, it would be more relevant to the output which you are expecting, rather than the AI model hallucinating and taking out of context data from the internet and then giving you an output which might not be tailored to your particular needs. And there are some examples which I can quickly run, like how it makes a particular difference if we use better prompts. So I'll just start with a small example of, let's say, lesson planning. And I'm using a weak prompt right now. And with the latest models of AI, I think it might also ask me to like better provide a context. If I just say, create me a lesson plan, usually I think in the older models, it will just create me a lesson plan, but in newer models, it would ask me for a content. So yeah, I think as we expected, it needs some of the information to better provide a curate the plan for me. So instead of giving this, I would just quickly use a better prompt. And if I just give a better prompt where I have defined what would be the lesson plan length, for whom it is curated, what is the age group, and what is the topic, and also the context. So the context here is student has scored 45% in a diagnostic test, and the student is a mix of rural and urban background. And also I need to include the Bloom levels 1, 2, 3 objectives within the particular assessment. So it gives me a particularly detailed plan where, if you see, it's targeted at class student ninth within the particular age group and all those prerequisites which I defined. And it is giving me the L1, L2, and L3, which is remembering, understanding, and applying all those objectives. And then it is giving me the activities which I need to follow. So the warm up of 5 minutes, explicit teaching of 10 minutes, how it can be used, guided practices, communicative activities, activity 1 and 2, it is also giving me the activity, and also like giving me the peer assessment formats and the point and all the metrics for that particular assessment. So within a second, I am able to create a much better learning plan just because I gave a better prompt. I gave more context to the AI model. I clearly defined what I need out of that particular model, and it is able to create a more curated plan, which is more usable at my level and serves the purpose which I want to have. So if we are giving the right input, we would be getting the right output from those particular models. Similarly, I think we have a few examples for few shot learning, chain of thought learnings, and also like context engineering. I can probably just show quickly one more example. Maybe let's take this example where we were talking about the reasoning of the AI models. So this is a paragraph. Let's say a student has submitted as an assignment, and I want to grade this particular paragraph which is submitted, and I want to grade it based on these particular parameters. And I want the AI to define why it has graded and corrected those mistakes within that particular paragraph. All right, so it has given me the actual paragraph and it is giving me the analysis. Many students, I think this would have an error and it's telling me the sentence type, the subject verb agreement, the tense consistency, the article usage based on all these particular parameters which I defined. It is giving me why the reasoning, like what is wrong in that particular sentence within the paragraph, and it's giving me the corrected sentence as well. And the changes it's explaining student to students to match many plural quantity. So it's giving me the reasoning behind the changes which it is making at each step. And what it is doing is it is removing the bias or removing the hallucination of those particular AI models. So let's say if a teacher was to check a particular article and let's say there are 50 or 60 students in a class, the consistency might not be as accurate as an AI model which has a defined set of instructions. Although it's not like you would be replacing the teachers completely by the AI models, but you would be enabling the AI model to work in such a way where the power or where the defining of that particular AI model still is with the teachers because you are the one defining all those parameters to be assessed on. But then all you need to do is like submit those 50 or 60 assignments into the AI model, and it will grade those particular assignments with the reasoning, with the particular data which you fed into it in a more accurate way where there is no bias, no kind of what I would say, no differentiation between one or the other student, and it will grade everyone equally based on the real data driven insights. So that was just a few examples of the models, and then I think we already discussed about the tools. Here are a few more tools which are like really helpful, I think, which are different to your generic chat GPTs or the Perplexity AIs. But all these tools are especially helpful, a few of them in the education sector, and a few of them I think you could even use on a personalized way. So for example, if you have a really long YouTube video on some of the research topics and you just want to have a summary, I think you could use a YouTube summary extension, which is the AI tool which will give you a real-time summary, and you can even ask question and answers about that particular video without even watching a video of 3 or 4 hours. It will just process through all the contents of the video and give you a particular interface where you can learn about the video in real time, just asking a few questions as well. So I would take a pause here. I think we are pretty much on time, but just the whole crux I would like to say is like if we are going to move towards a digital India by 2047, I think it's really important these all educational reforms come into picture, and English language being the fundamental language across all these tools is really necessary to be incorporated in our education policies. And that's, I think, what the government is also working towards. So yeah, I think I'll just take a pause for any questions which the audience might have.
Participants, the floor is now open for questions. I'm sure all of us into teaching or research, Aditya Sodh has shared, a lot of information for us which we can use in our everyday research or classroom activities. So I'm sure you'll be having questions. Can you please raise your questions or type it here in the chat box for us? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. Recently, I came across an article in LinkedIn Post where it stated that a student's original research work, when it was updated in Turnitin, AI detected that it was fully in AI content, even when the person wrote it all by himself. So this is a post which I read in LinkedIn. I think if I'm right, day before yesterday. So as people into literature and language where we do a lot of research work, for example, you showed us a content generation here. How far do you think the authenticity of it can be taken into the academic background or in the academic field? Because, we have something called as the plagiarism concept. So how do you think we can take it as academicians or researchers in this field? We definitely want to use AI too, because, that is the way of life. We would rather put it like that. So in that case, how to use it within safe parameters?
Yeah, so I think that's a really challenging aspect as well, which we have been facing in the AI world. And a basic simple answer to that would be like restricting those particular articles. Let's say we have a research paper which might be published online, and there would be, sorry, I think it's detecting a gesture. But yeah, so for example, if you are publishing those particular research papers in a public forum, so you have the consent-based management, right? If you're publishing it on a public forum, it is available to a public and it might be accessed by those particular AI systems. So there are two aspects to it. The AI data which is being trained upon, it needs consent to be used. So these might be used into your particular, let's say the user agreements where AI model might take your data and have your consent to be used. In those cases, it has the right to use those particular articles or research within the training models. But to verify that whether a content is AI generated or not, I think you have basically tools which would be detecting your particular percentage of the AI used in that particular, let's say, research paper or not, and the context or the prompt engineering which I told about, right? So if we say whether this particular content is AI generated or not, it might say, okay, this percentage is AI generated, but we can just add more context to it. Let's say, okay, if it is AI generated, give me what percentage is AI generated and give me the citations where it is taken from. So it will give you all the resources where that particular section or particular section of that particular research paper is copied or like taken from. And then you can obviously get to know that, okay, let's say this is taken from like XYZ particular website, and this needs to be credited to XYZ person because they have published it into a public forum where AI has access to it, but it can't be used or it might be copyrighted. Without permission, you can't use it into a different world. So it's more of a consent-based use and also like the copyright-based use. But just to answer your question, whether we can know whether it's AI generated or not, we can. And even with more context-based prompts, we can even get the sources, citations, and also the credits for that particular work. So it's all about like the consent generation and the management, how you manage that particular consent within the public forums.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? There's one question by Priyanka in the chat box. So can I read it or
Yeah,
you
I'm
got
just
it there?
reading it. Okay. It feels more like a cheat code. Don't you think the originality and authentication of research is in question? So I would say to some extent it's like not in question because the AI models which are being trained, right, they are taking the data from what is available online. So if you're researching on something which is very authentic or unique or original to yourself, you can especially use AI to aid yourself to help guide those particular resources, but the originality still stays with the human because AI would be giving the output data based on the models or the information fed into it. So there are two different categories, right? One is the generative AI, which would use that particular training data to generate something which is new. And then you have the basic AI, which is like based on the data and won't have the generative capacity to like create something new. So the authenticity still lies within you. You can use AI as an aid for your research, take references for it. But the last question, I think you just mentioned about a tool which can humanize the AI content. But still, there are like tools which would detect that. There are tools being developed which will still detect if it is a human generated stuff or a AI generated stuff based on the natural language processing and the data which is fed into those particular AI systems. So there are like the tools which are trying to like copy or create something which is mimic the human nature, but we have the tools to like identify those as well. Often, I think those are the paid tools which might be used by the institutions. But in the upcoming years, I think that will be available to the normal public as well as free tools, or as we have seen in the chat GPTs, which can create your PPTs or which can create your, let's say, the images as well, right? 2 years before, we did not have those tools, but those tools are now being like given to public as well. So in the upcoming years, we might have access to those tools, which would be able to identify, and these tools are already present with those institutions. But yeah, in short, I think the human creativity and the originality is still with the people. It's not with the AI. Although the generative AI can like advance to those particular strategies, but you can easily differentiate between those things, even if there are tools which claim to like humanize those particular AI written text or content.
Yes, I think you have answered her question and she has thanked you in the chat box. Any more questions? Okay. They want the PPT with the organizers. Will you share? Actually,
Yeah.
to all the participants, a reminder to you, this is actually a live YouTube event. So we'll also share the YouTube link with you where you can watch it.
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
I'm sure all our research scholars would have a lot of questions and they would want to have your PPT because this is going to guide them in a very fruitful way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be pretty focused on the tools which I mentioned, but yeah, I think those are really helpful if we use it in the right context and with like the right kind of
Yes.
uh, defined guidelines. So yeah, I think it would aid us to like save a lot of time and focus on other things which are more
Yes.
meaningful, and the things which can be automated can be taken care of by AI.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. As you already said, it is just the lack of knowledge and how to use it and what all are available at the outside, because ChatGPT comes into our Google as soon as we open it, either ChatGPT or Perplexity, these two like that. So using those two on the nature of
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Oh, I do not know. I think there are no more questions. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Okay, ma'am, you are okay. Okay, so I think there are no more questions now. I will be posting the feedback in a while. And I would like to, thank Mr. Aditya Sood for the wonderful session. Your the discussion has really helped us see how data and artificial intelligence are, reshaping language learning, uh, communication skills, and the broader linguistic landscape. So thank you so much for being with us today. We are really grateful to have you with us as a speaker. And on behalf of the Department of Language, Culture and Society, in collaboration with TEDSO College Dimapur, Sovyuma, we are really grateful that you have shared your expertise with us today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all for inviting me.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I will be posting the feedback form for the participants. Just give me 1 minute. This,
Participants, do join us for the next session. The speaker is ready. Maybe around 6 o'clock, we'll start our next session. Now it's 5:45. Sharp 6, we'll start our last session. Yeah, so anyone has posted.
Yeah, I've posted the feedback form. I will also be sharing in the WhatsApp group
Google
so that
form.
thank you everyone. Please join us again at 6 o'clock. We still have one more session. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.